excited to be able to introduce Robin Kiera. He is one of the leading influences in Insurtech and fintech in Europe. He's always on the outlook for the next big thing, and he comes into this work as an academic. I appreciate the liberal arts background that he brought into this. He started off with a doctorate in history and spent 10 years then in business, both large traditional businesses as well as startups. And through that process, developed a passion for digital change and decided to devote himself to that subject. So he combines his experience to lead large transformation processes in the insurance industry with digital projects and business models. He is going to share his experience with us. He's widely published, he speaks frequently, he moderates, he's well known, and we're thrilled that he was able to join us for this meeting. Robin, would you please come up?
Yeah, thank you for the kind words. I'm really flattered. That does put a lot of pressure then. Just kidding. So before we start, I would have a little question for you. Who of you ever had a Nokia phone as his personal phone? Please raise your hand. All right. Who still uses a Nokia phone as its main phone today? That's literally nobody in a room of 600 people. Well, what does it have to do with the insurance industry? We still have phones, we still use them, but they are from different companies. And I strongly believe that insurance will always be around. That's the good news. But the big question is, who will provide the coverage in the future? Will it be that we stay relevant, or will it be, like in telecommunication, that new players actually rise? And that's what my talk is all about, to ask this question and to actually work together on that. It's not going as with Nokia. I will talk about these topics in a short introduction, then I will talk about what I personally think is changing right now, then I will dive a little bit into the insurance industry, I will talk about what's going on in Europe right now, and have a personal approach on what actually could be done. Sorry. So who am I and why should you care? I have two similarities with Prince William's. First, adorable life, and second, we're both born in 1982, so I'm 35 years old. Very important to know about me is I'm a die-hard Hamburg Sports Club soccer fan, and you need to know we didn't win anything in the last 30 years. Oh, I feel the pain with me. Thank you very much. What did I do for work? It was already mentioned. What's important for me to say when I'm at insurance events, I also worked in the field of selling insurances at Allianz, and also had in the headquarters leading projects there. I worked also at mutual insurers and know the difference between large public companies and insurers. Then I went into the wild startup world and worked for an online gaming company. They needed a corporate guy to structure and process and set that all up. Right now I'm working for a private bank in Germany, and as Chief Product Officer I set up an ecosystem of digital products and services for them. But that's only half of me. The other half is Digital Scouting, a platform I set up for thought leaders, entrepreneurs and senior managers to share their views on the things, share best practices. But what we do there are two things. First, we support also corporations as sparring partner for their digital projects, and what we also do, we do a lot of communication. Who of you watched the Super Bowl this year? Raise your hand. That's okay, everybody. Who was for the Patriots? Don't be shy. All right. And who for the Eagles? Okay, there we go. I will tell the story anyway. I strongly believe it would have been very easy to win the Super Bowl against the Eagles. I think the Patriots could have done it, and I also think everybody in this room could have done it. How? Don't play football against them. play chess or gymnastics. What do I say? Why do I say this? Because I believe communication has changed over the last 10 years radically, and you can play the old game with them, but then you don't have a chance against large people or organizations, but there are tools and tactics out there that are new and that you can play with your own rules, and that's how we help them. But enough about me. Who would be a better expert to talk about digital transformation, AI, blockchain, and all the beautiful stuff than my 95-year-old grandmother? She's in the middle, that's my wife, and it's me, and I actually had a suit against all rules, but I only wear it for my grandmother. So, what does she say? She has asked me, what do you do when I talk about self-sustaining algorithms and setting up ecosystems and products and apps and services and Siri skills and whatever? And then at one moment she was very polite and let me talk. And then she said, do you actually know that in the city I grew up, and when I was young, there was not a single car. We actually needed to take a horse cart to the next bigger city, and there was one person having a car. Why do I say this? It underlines that people walking the face of the earth, that between those two generations, the world radically changed, and that our realities are totally different from our grandmothers' and grandfathers' days. Who of you will retire within the next 15 years? Please raise your hand. Lucky you. Everything we talk today about, it may be on social media, may be on conferences, may be in books, every technological topic, for example, AI, blockchain, and so on. All of this did not exist 15 years ago. And also the big companies we're talking about right now, Google, Facebook, Amazon, Tencent, Alibaba, all these companies did not in their form and dominance of today exist 15 years ago. So even for those that see pension around and retirement around the corner, this means everything is going to change at least one more time. What's important to underline, and I'm a historian by trade, so forgive me for this slide. I strongly believe that this is the result of historic development. And in every innovation we saw in the last 200 years, maybe steam engine, electricity, data processing, we always had the same debates, which were, will this technology work? What does it mean for our industry? Will it affect our industry? Or will it go away? And I strongly believe the internet, mobile internet, all the topics we talk about today, they won't go away because it's a logical consequence of history. But what does it have for an effect? Well, I think customers that are used to receive through tech companies like Amazon or others seemingly services and get next day delivery, they are not willing to wait for a policy or a claim regulation for 8 weeks or longer. And what we also see, we see an explosion of data. If we look at the data humankind produced over the last 10,000 years, from the first writings and pyramids to actually my phone right there, collecting data right now, 90% of that data was collected in the last 2 years. What does it mean? This means that it does not take a winner of a Fields Medal to understand if you have an industry that is based on risk analysis and data analysis and you have an explosion of data, that actually is going to change our industry. What we also see is an acceleration of adaptation of new technology. Electricity needed to reach 60% of the US population 85 years. The smartphone needed 8.5 years to reach the same. And there are a lot of other examples that show that new technology are accelerating and adapting. But I think the most important thing is that I strongly believe that technology, what we see right now, and the change in customer behavior and other topics, that they lead to a leveling of the playing field. Right now, everybody in this room is more powerful than every director in Hollywood. Why? Because you have this thing in your pocket, and with this thing you can produce content and that you can distribute to people around the world for free. And we know stars on YouTube that make more than insurance CEOs. And I think this is the communication part. But I see, when we see new digital insurers arise, that the setup cost, not from a regulatory standpoint of view, but from the technological standpoint of view, that is a fraction of what it has cost 10, 20 years ago to set up a new insurance company. But how does disruption actually look like? You have a serious, great industry, and they are growing considerably over time. And then this happens. A challenger arises with a new product, but especially in industries where it's hard to acquire new customers, you see quickly consolidation and relief under incumbents. But the problem is that a few of the new participants in the market slip through your fingers and they continue. And in this moment, actually, you are already in trouble. Why? When they are able to grow as fast as you do, but with a fraction of internal costs because they don't have legacy and history, they can cause you a lot of pain. If this happens, that they grow faster, a lot faster than you with a fraction of the cost, actually, well, you're in deep trouble. Especially in most of the cases in other industries, this happened to a lot of incumbents. And this is actually the same process that has happened over the last 100 years in different industries. What kind of effect does it have? I talked already about Nokia. 11 years ago, Nokia was the king of cell phones. In November 2011, and history can be ironic, Forbes magazine announced that they're the king of cell phones. In the same month, a almost broke, or almost several times almost broke computer company from Silicon Valley, they were so had the audacity to move into a complicated industry, the cell phone industry, and released the iPhone. Between this picture and this picture, Nokia being sold for a fraction of the value it had only 5 years earlier, only 5 years passed. So what I say, nobody is too big to fail anymore, and it can go fast nowadays. But again, what does it have, this an effect for the insurance industry? I think we in this room could talk for hours only about this slide, about the insurance value chain, and debate in which part of the value chain actually will be affected and what kind of use cases we see already, we see on the horizon, and what we can think about. I only want you to take one idea of this slide. I strongly believe that insurance, that the whole insurance industry value chain is affected by it. Staff is affected. Do we have the right people at the right time, at the right place right now? Communication and sales is being affected, and also products are affected. We see already now new pricing models, we see new products in general. In underwriting, we see that technology is taking over. In Japan, at Fukushima Mutual, they replaced whole departments with technology. And I think, again, every single aspect of our value chain is actually affected by all these topics: AI, big data, virtual augmented reality, IoT, robotics, and all the crazy stuff that's out there. Let's talk about tsunamis. What do you do when you stand at the beach and a tsunami is coming? What would you do first day? Run away, somebody said? Yeah, run away. Sometimes I have the impression when I talk in Europe, especially in Europe but also beyond, with senior management of insurances, that they're standing at the beach, seeing a tsunami is coming, and they're saying, oh, this does not affect me. My sandcastle is too complicated. This may affect Mr. Retail and Mr. Mobility and Mr. Hotel and Mr. Entertainment and Music, but not me. My customers don't want that. And I always say that's totally okay to have a romantic view on technology. It's totally okay. And by the way, I had a chat with a owner of a large insurer in Europe a few months ago, and he said, oh, I don't like Facebook, I don't like WeChat, I don't like this technology, I don't like this and that. And I say, because when I'm sitting with my kids at the dinner table and they're on their phone all the time, and I say, it's okay to have a private, romantic view on technology. It's totally okay. But it's not okay to base your business decision on it. And I told him the one thing. he also knew that I'm a diehard Hamburg Sports Club fan. I said, if you would ask me what my emotional advice for you is right now, I would tell you the following. Become a member of Hamburg Sports Club, advise all your marketing budget to my club, and we will win the first championship since 30 years within the next 5 years, I swear to you. And we will go to the mayor's office where the team is then presenting the cup, and you have the biggest party you can ever imagine, and it only costs you about $1 billion. And I asked him, would that be my emotional recommendation? Would that be smart and wise? And he said, no. And that's what I said. It's the same about technology. You can have a private romantic view on technology, but when you make this decision, really base it not on this romantic view of technology. Yeah, let's go to Europe. There are 4 groups. I will talk about 3. First, about incumbents. I think incumbents, or the segment of incumbents, is going to play out like the German soccer league. You have the big teams that are always going to be on top. I strongly believe if time is really getting stressful for them, like Allianz, AXA, Generali and others, they will just buy their way out of it. Out of their pocket money, they could buy immediately the complete European Insurtech ecosystem. And in each season you have the positive surprises. Small teams run by great management, hungry players, hungry regions, and they, with no money, they make the miracle of advancing. And that's what we see in Europe right now too. We see small insurance, traditional insurance companies run by young or young-minded people that actually try to use digital transformation as a chance. And then you have the, I always say, the Hamburg sports clubs of the insurance industry, traditional houses, gigantic history, gigantic cost structure that are actually about to implode. And if you ask me of the 500 insurers that we have in Germany and the thousands we have in Europe, how many actually are really putting it all into digital transformation, I would say it's 1 or 2 handful. And we see the whole startup ecosystem. I have a VC, a friend who's venture capitalist, and I asked him, why did you actually enter the insurance industry? And he said, I went to a lot of conferences. And when I discovered that the senior management on stage was saying, well, this internet, it doesn't apply to my industry. Our industry is too complicated. We are heavily regulated. He decided, well, this is the moment I need to go into. And in the last 3 years, worldwide, $4 billion were invested in Insurtech companies. And what he always says to me is, I'm not a charity. I come into this industry not for 1%, 2%, 3% profitability, but for multiples. And how does the ecosystem look like? This is the German one. Until 1 year ago, it looked like this. There's the first wave of Insurtech companies coming that were doing 2 things. First, attacking a part of the value chain or supporting a part of the value chain as a service provider that offers data technology to incumbents. And since 1 year, we see this. We see full insurers being digital. That means there are new insurers in the market that go end-to-end. And there are a lot more in stealth mode right now. Yeah, and now we have the third group, the tech giants, the Googles, Facebook, Tencent, Alibabas of the world. Amazon is setting up a 100 people strong office in London to attack 6 markets in Europe. Here they're setting up with JP Morgan and Berkshire Hathaway a new healthcare provider, and I think America is not the easiest market for that. Other companies are doing similar things. Why are they so dangerous to the insurance industry? They are dangerous not because they know so much about the customer. We know also a lot about our customers. They are so dangerous because they have experience in disrupting industries. They have gone from industry to industry and redirecting profitability and revenue streams into their headquarters. And what's even more scary, they are experienced in disrupting themselves. When Amazon engineers developed the Kindle, there was a discussion, should we do it ourselves? That would kill our online book marketing business, or shall we do it ourselves? And they decided to do it themselves, kill their own business in order that nobody else disrupts them. And that's, I think, a quality why they're so so challenging right now. And another thing is, because a lot of people are talking about cooperation, I don't know one single serious online bookstore that Amazon left alive. Why should they do that when they have a superior business model? Why should they do that actually with our industry? But the big question is what to do. Who of you thought, and be very honest, last week not to come because he had too much stuff in office to do? Who at least thought about the idea skipping this one? Please raise your hand. And I won't tell Kai or Doug. Okay, a few. The question is what could be done. I strongly believe that you guys in this room did already 50%. Why? Because you are here and 99.9% of the industry is not. And I think it's tremendously important in times of radical changes that we get out there, talk to other people, network with the people at the table later on down there, and to talk to people and to listen to innovative topics. So I think, you did already the most important part. And I will share 4 of my 8 steps. Out of time reasons, I reduced that. What is this chart? I talked to the CEO of one large European insurer, and he showed me his project portfolio. He said, Robin, I'm investing several $100 million into innovation and digital transformation. I was already excited and wanted to praise him. And then I had a look at the detailed documentation. And then I drew this thing, because I drew this thing. What does it show? It actually shows the business model, technology, and same old. Sometimes you have a little bit of a new business model, sometimes you have a little bit of new technology, and if you have new stuff, that's where the magic happens. And I told him, if you, and it looked like that in his documentation, if you spend 90%, 95%, 98%, 99% of your budgets in the sector of projects for same old, you are actually in the zone of death. Why? Because if you're so much occupied in replacing your 40-year-old customer relationship management with a 20-year-old customer relationship management, and you spend a lot of money for that, you don't see actually what's coming from the new stuff there, and you don't prepare your organization there. And what he actually did is he decided then to reallocate certain budgets to try to found departments outside the company, do some cooperation with the startups, and so on and so on. Who of you has kids? Raise your hands. All right, cool. Then you're going to love this one, I hope. And so, don't love your products, love your customers. What does that mean? A good friend of mine, he owns a large brokerage, and I talked about him with, you need to provide customers digital products and services for free. You need to give, and then at some point do the sale. And you need actually to do all these technological miracles I talked about earlier. And he said, but I need to sell insurances. Do you actually want me to stop selling insurances? I said, no, I want that you sell more. And then you had a question mark in his eyes. And I said, okay, when your daughter Isabel was born, what kind of questions did you ask yourself? And he said, well, how does she sleep? What does she eat? Is she sick? And how to meet other sane parents? And then I asked him, who did you ask for getting answers to all these questions? And he said, well, friends, family, and Google. And I asked him, did you also ask an insurer? And he said, no. I strongly believe insurers are baby experts. Why? Insurers are baby experts because due to our claim statistics, healthcare data, accident insurance data, we know a lot about events around that. And I strongly believe if we would provide this knowledge, what we already have inside of our companies, in a nice, consumable way to our customers, that would provide tremendous value to them. And why should we do this? Because if we provide them with a lot of digital products and services, and I'm not talking about the one app, I'm not talking about the contract app where you can see your contracts, I'm really talking about helping the people in their lives independently of a certain product cycle. And to give away these services for free. Why? What is the effect of that? If we do this for a long time, then we can win the hearts and minds of our customers, and what's even more important, to win their home screen and to become part of their daily life and become a companion, a daily companion in their life if we provide them with that. Another point is, and I'm switching back to this one CEO, and he also showed me the list of suggestions by management consultants. And they had like one list about regular topics and suggestions they were suggesting, and that was okay, the accelerating processes and structures. And they had a list of out-of-the-box ideas. And I was actually getting a little bit emotional there. Why? Because we live in times in which 20-year-old people can found multi-billion-dollar companies in their garages, and in which we have distribution that cost millions back in the days, now for free. We live in times we don't have inside the box, outside the box anymore. We have no box anymore. And what kind of an example is that here? He also, his management consultants recommended him to focus on his core business. And you're probably wondering why the cucumber is up there. Focus on your core business. And what happens in the past in other industries when incumbents focus on their core business? New companies enter the market, focus on inefficient, non-profitable customers, and as soon as they were making money there, they went up the segments of customers and slice by slice up the value chain and the profitability of incumbents until the end, and then in the end put them out of the market. And I told him, if you do that, it's actually economic suicide. And he said, what else could one do? I strongly believe digital transformation is not a defensive topic, it's time for an offensive topic. We should not focus and narrow down our businesses of the value chain. We should actually think about expanding, and not inside the box, outside the box, but really with a no-box category. I told you, as part of Allianz management program, I really worked also in sales, sitting down and trying to sell insurances and understanding that it's not easy to do that for a product you cannot eat, smell, or take for a ride. I always ask myself, and forget all the digital topics, I always ask myself, insurances or brokers and agents, we are sales machines, and we are specialized in selling the hardest stuff. Why are we actually only selling the hard stuff? Why aren't we not actually selling the stuff that's easier? For example, if you excite your customer base in a live event like getting a baby or other live events, and you give and provide a lot of information and services and products for them for free, why don't you also sell them other stuff? Why not giving recommendation? What is the safest stroller? What is the healthiest baby bed? Or really trying to get your customer base there and to sell them and recommend them other stuff because they trust you. And I think again that expansion, we should really think about how to extend our value chain there. Yeah, and after that was now my part, and it's now your part. I love Adidas, nevertheless, I really like this topic of the night, just do it. You all got a swag bag, I think, with a lot of pens and papers in it. And my question to you would be, take 1 minute time to think about, and you probably got a lot of ideas already, what could you do after the keynote, with what kind of result, what could you do this week, and what could you do this year to use the opportunities for digital transformation. So take your time, 1 minute, and if you like, you can write it down. I'm serious. Okay, minute is over. At the beginning I asked the question, or the title of my presentation is Digital Disruption, Threat and Opportunity, or Opportunity. And what do these three garages have in common? You probably all know that. In these three garages, big multi-billion-dollar tech companies that dominate the world right now were founded. Everybody in this room does not work in a garage. This means that everybody in this room and every organization that you represent have a better chance than those companies in those days when they started. And we all know the tactics and methods and tools to grow, to expand of this industry. And I have to say, when I outside of Hamburg Sports Club get emotional about insurance, sometimes I really wish or dream of a future of insurance in which we provide our customers digital products and services for free in the moments they need it, tech-driven, individualized, to really deal with their desires and wishes and fears and win their hearts and minds and home screens of their gadgets and become a trusted partner in their daily life in order then to help them with their personal and business topics. The tools and tactics are out there, and I strongly believe if we would do it as an industry, we would be unstoppable. Thank you very much.